Welcome to the Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group podcast, in which the group's analysts, me, Volodymyr Solovyan, and my colleague Mikita Kuzmenko, explain trends and debunk Russian propaganda. One of the most relevant topics of these days is Putin's meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. Ahead of the visit to China, which will start on August 31, Russian leader gave a written interview to the Xinhua news agency. In the interview, he spoke about relations with China and expectations for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization 2025 summit. Putin stated that the SCO is contributing to the building of a fairer, multipolar world order. That means that he put their organization into the Moscow's propagandist frame. Thus, Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group focuses on the event, which will be followed by many audiences globally. I'd just like to remind that this weekend more than 20 world leaders will gather for the SCO summit, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He will visit China for the first time in 7 years. Thus, the culmination for the event, symbolizing the so-called unity of the non-Western countries, will be a military parade in the Beijing on the September 3rd, which will bring together 26 leaders on the stand, including President Putin, President Xi, and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And now I'd like to ask my colleague Mikita about the geopolitical context of the summit.
Thank you, Volodymyr. The foregoing summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is to be on the 31st of August, is to be the largest in its history and is to happen in China. President Xi Jinping will host more than 20 leaders from Asia, the Middle East, and other regions. That is to demonstrate the solidarity of the global south in the era of Donald Trump's renewed policies. For Russian leader Vladimir Putin, this summit is especially important. He will not only meet with Xi, but also stay in Beijing for the military parade. Indian Prime Minister, as you've already mentioned, Narendra Modi, will visit China for the first time in 7 years, signaling an attempt to warm relations after the 2020 broader conflict. Analysts are already calling the meeting of these three leaders unique. What has changed? According to Reuters media, Xi Jinping wants to use the summit to show what international order without American dominance might look like. Since the beginning of the year, the White House has been trying to isolate China, Iran, Russia, and now India. But these efforts are not having the desired effect. On the contrary, the BRICS format and similar alliances are making Donald Trump very nervous, which is exactly what they are designed to do.
Thanks, Nikita. And what are the main topics about Russian coverage of the summit?
In Russian political circus and propaganda media, the summit is presented as a proof that the world is rapidly becoming multipolar as opposed to the decaying unipolar world of the West. Ideologist Alexander Dugin directly states that Donald Trump's policies have only accelerated the formation of a new world order, contrary to his own intentions. Instead of accepting reality and trying to find a leadership role for the United States in the multipolar system, Trump chose the path of confrontation. Trade wars against China and India, pressure on Brazil, threats against the BRICS countries, continuation of the conflict against Russia and Ukraine, etc. As a result, Dugin argues these actions have trapped the United States. Washington itself pushed Moscow into the arms of Beijing and now New Delhi. He calls the current rapprochement between Russia, China, and India the birth of the true tripolar multipolarity. Russian pro-Kremlin rhetorics are delighted with this turnaround. The West, in their view, missed the boat. Unwilling to voluntarily accept the new realities, it has gained a powerful Eurasian counterbalance in the form of an alliance between Moscow, Beijing, and New Delhi. Um, the irony, commentators add, is that Trump dreamed of preserving American hegemony, in fact, contributed to its end. For the Russian audiences, India's participation is a special cause for celebration. While New Delhi used to be considered a shaky element in Eastern alliances because of its historical ties with the United States, now they openly talk about India turning its back on Washington. Russian observers remind us that Trump has severely offended Prime Minister Modi with his actions, and now Modi is traveling to China for the first time in a long time, side by side with Putin. They say another blunder of American diplomacy. The symbolic moment of the meeting will be the visit of Narendra Modi, who has long been considered a weak link because of his friendship with the West. Now India is entering into a confrontation with the United States, notes Russian expert Dmitry Solonikov. Moscow concludes that together the three great powers will decide the fate of humanity and the future of the world, where someone, likes it or not, belongs to Xi, Modi, and Putin. It is they, the Kremlin ideologists, are convinced who are laying the foundation for the next era by promoting their own understanding of multipolarity.
Thanks, Mikita. And the last question, as far as I know, you followed also Chinese media regarding the topic of the 2025 SCO summit. So maybe you could please tell us some main features regarding a Chinese perception and expectation.
Yes, that's true that I have been following some Chinese media, and now I can say that the official Chinese media described the summit in much more positive, peaceful terms, without outright attacks against the West, but with an emphasis on an alternative model of international relations. The Xinhua news agency writes about the dynamic development of the Shanghai spirit, the principles on which the CSO is based. It's about mutual trust, equality, mutual benefit, respect for diversity of cultures, and the desire for common development. Since the organization's founding in 2001, these ideas have gained wide acceptance because they go beyond outdated concepts such as the Cold War or zero-sum games. The Chinese emphasize the CSO is not a military bloc and is not aimed at third countries. On the contrary, it offers a new model of partnership without confrontations and bloc thinking. According to the Chinese side, Beijing is especially proud that during its presidency, I'm talking about the China's presidency of the CSO that began in July 2024, it has managed to intensify its work from anti-terrorism exercise to trade growth. Such rhetoric positions the CSO and China as players open to global cooperation, as opposed to the hints that the West is acting only in its own interests. The China press is also optimistic about the CSO Plus format, which invites leaders from other countries of the global south to the summit. In his speeches at the summit, Xi Jinping is expected to emphasize the strengthening of the CSO role in the global governance and to put forward new cooperation initiatives. Interestingly, China officials have been very positive about Prime Minister Modi's visit. In early August, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Zhaiwan welcomed India's decision to participate, promising that the Tianjin summit would be a meeting of solidarity, friendship, and fruitful results, and that the CSO would reach a new level of unity and dynamism. Experts in Beijing sees Modi move as a signal that India is seeking to return relations with China to a constructive direction after years of tension. Um, at the same time, it's noted that New Delhi continues to balance between the great power trying to benefit from cooperation with China and partnership with the United States and Japan. In particular, the Indian government is simultaneously coordinating its position with Tokyo on challenges in the Indo-Pacific region. Despite such nuances, the Chinese media avoid harsh criticism and emphasize the positive. The resumption of direct fights between China and India, joint projects, cultural exchanges, all of that is presented as a sign of gradual warming that is the interest of both countries. Thus, from Beijing's perspective, the CSO summit is a platform where win-win cooperation is placed above all confrontations.
Thanks, Mikita. And now it's time to finish our podcast. But anyway, we will follow the developments of the summit and stay with us, and you will be informed about relevant developments of Russian propaganda and attempts to undermine global order.